the biggest things when I really started learning to uncover identity alchemism and even break down the parts. And those of you that are listening, identity alchemism is really what I really imagine is our special sauce in our program. And
Mhm.
it's about having an outcome, but then what do you need to do to have and to actually do that outcome? And it needs you need to be the person. And so you have your thoughts. I need to think like a rich person to make a lot of money. Then I need to speak like a rich or wealthy person to be a wealthy person. And then I will do the actions that a wealthy person does, and then I will do them often enough that they become my habits, and then my outcome is that I will be wealthy.
What's up, everybody? You're listening to the Hustle and Flowchart podcast with your boys, Matt Wolf and Joe Fear.
What's up, Mr. Sisco? How you doing?
I'm absolutely fucking amazing, fellas. I'm so excited to be here, to be on the show with you guys. Amazing day. How are both of you?
Absolutely fabulous. It's a
Doing
great
great.
day here. It's a podcast day, and we're chatting with one of our favorite humans. We've been chatting about you quite often lately.
Yeah, it's
on,
come
on
up.
other episodes.
Anybody listening to the podcast has heard your name come up on probably the last 3 or 4 episodes.
That's right. Mr. Alpha Hippie himself, Angelo Sisco, is in the house.
Ooh,
So,
thank
yeah,
you
man.
so much.
There
What
it
a nice
is.
title.
But yeah, so was it 2 years? 3 years ago? We've had you on? I don't know. How long has it been? Do you remember?
I
We
don't
should've
know off
looked
the top
at
of my
it.
head, yeah, but it's been a couple of years since you were on the show, and we'll make sure we link up in the show notes so anybody who wants to hear your backstory and, kind of how you got to where you are. We did talk about it in the last episode, but I know there's
did.
more to the story since then, and I think that's what we're going to get into today.
Things have changed. You're now just right up the road from us. You used to be in Chicago when we chatted last. I remember you had all these epic whiteboards everywhere. I think in
Yeah.
your condo or something. You're in
Yeah,
San Clemente now.
in my
Yeah.
apartment, my living room was all whiteboards. Remember when we had that first meeting, even about O'Hare CrossFit and Evergreen
Yeah.
Profits? It was
Yep.
just me like writing on the walls, and it was just everywhere.
So you had like no shirt on. It must have been a hot friggin' Chicago day. I'm like, who's this guy just writing on all of his walls? I'm like, it looked like I don't know what to call it, but it was crazy. I've never seen
Yeah.
anything like it, man. So what brought you to I don't want to say San Diego, but it's San Clemente where you're at. So
Southern
SoCal.
California, yeah.
That's right. What brought you here, and like what's the change looked like since Chicago to now? I know it's been a year since you've been here.
Yeah. So what really brought me here originally was a lot of my transformational work and my self-discovery work. That's where why I first ventured in Southern California, and then I was in Encinitas and coming back and forth through here, and a friend of mine, Marcus, who lives in the area, I would come visit him around San Clemente, and there's something about San Clemente to me that has such a nostalgia about it. Some people love novelty, which I imagine, I do too, but I'm a sucker for nostalgia. I
What kind
really
of nostalgia are we talking?
like 1960s America, like early 60s,
Okay.
when the debate was who was going to be the president, Kennedy or Nixon, but no one was mad about either one. Like, right? Like that type of era where it was cool to be American. The nuclear family was the thing, right? All of that. I love the idea of that. In my house, that was a really big part of my upbringing. Like my mother grew up 1954 is the year my parents were born, so that early 60s, my mother still knows where she was the day Kennedy got shot. Just all of that was in my life. My mother grew up in Beatles mania,
That's right.
right? Like these amazing times. My dad was the Rebels, so he liked the Rolling Stones more. You know the deal,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Just
man.
like these were the discussions of the times, and when the more I hung out around San Clemente, the neighborhood itself, like near the beach, it looks and feels that way and felt that way. And when Rocio and I had our son Santiago in 2013 or 2019, excuse me, I really started looking at, what we wanted life to be like for us. And was where we were living right now, where we would want to raise our son. Even though that we were raised there, is that really where we wanted to raise a child? And we really didn't love being in that energy. The vibration of Chicago, and also to the lack of nature and environment.
That's true.
I really believe the environment is much shaped by how lack of nature, vitamin D, and all of that vibe is. It's not as welcoming to me as it once was many, many years ago. And I really believe it's because of this lack of being in nature and
Yeah.
lack of all that stuff. And so we decided in 2019 that we were going to move to San Clemente. And February, I started inviting everyone I knew that was going to be to a 4th of July party. We told our family, I cooked everyone a Christmas dinner, both sides of our family, 18 people. Before everyone left, I go, hey guys, real quick, I got an announcement to make. Me and Rose stood up there. I go, we're moving to California in the summer.
You're like,
And
"Oh."
they were like, I'm like, yeah, see you guys. And then, dude, 2020 came, and
Dang, what a year to be here, huh?
2020 showed everyone what they were really prepared for as far as depth of chaos, like your chaos tolerance.
Your
And
true self coming out, right? Or the
yeah,
self that you're aware of.
and for me, someone that has been such a practitioner of going deep into myself and to my discomforts and fears, to me, it was when I got to show everyone this is why I've been sitting around timing my breathing, and like it was almost my show out year. That's what I felt like. I was like, I've been waiting for this.
Yeah.
This is when I separate myself from other people. Have you guys ever heard the song I Need a Hero by Bonnie Tyler? It's when in Footloose when
I'm
they're
sure.
doing the tractor chicken showdown.
Uh-huh.
Hero.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the opening line is, where have all the good men gone and where are all the gods? Where's the streetwise Hercules to fight the rise in us? And I would listen to that every day of that lockdown. And I go, I'm the streetwise Hercules. Here I go, baby. And it just like all showed up that way. That's how I really spelled myself into believing and continuing to believe in it. And something that you guys alluded to earlier about the identity alchemy is that's who I saw myself as. Not the guy that was, I'm the streetwise Hercules to fight the rise in these people, the chaos in these people. I'm not meant to fall into their chaos.
Yeah.
I'm here to harmonize it. Here I go, baby. And that's what really led us through being here the last year. And now that we're here a year, I feel I've never felt like the first year, boys, getting out here was the big lift. And then I spent most of 2020 and then into this early part of this year in my own chaos trying to figure out what it was like to be out here and frankly live this California lifestyle that I really didn't know.
And it's been a cool time getting to know you further, man. And both of us, we've started. We just hung out not too long ago, a couple weeks ago up there. Had a cool afternoon brainstorming business stuff. But it's cool to kind of bring our minds together now. And it's obvious hanging around you, kind of this different, just a different approach. You have a different perspective of almost everything. It seems like there's always a great story attached to it that anchors the thing in. You're like, oh damn, I've never thought about it that way.
Yeah. Actually, on that point, I'm actually kind of curious. The storytelling, is that something that you developed over time, or do you think that's something that's just kind of always innately been in you?
Great question, man. I grew up around men that knew how to chew the fat and bullshit. I really did. Like everyone knew how to give a good story. Everyone knew that the story was 65, 70% true, 30% embellishment. But it was such a great story, hanging out on the front stoop or outside a cafe. Everyone just let it go. And then someone else would go, they try to call someone out on their BS, or they would give their version of another story. And so I grew up around a lot of really great storytellers. And also too, I really am a pop culture or movie and music person, where I've always been into that. I was never really athletic. And so my athlete, or even how I look now, that was much later in my life. So as a younger kid, I really spent a lot of time. Remember Goosebumps?
Oh yeah,
I was
man.
like
Yep.
an R.L. Stein junkie.
Really?
Oh my
Yeah.
God. They
What were
used
some
to
of the
get,
titles? I'm trying to remember.
dude,
Come on,
I
give me.
don't remember all, but
Oh,
anyone in our generation, the
yeah.
Snowman, just all the different ones that would come out, I would read a Goosebumps in a day. I was one of those kids, that was
Nice.
really into story and movie, and just having this opportunity. And then further down the road I go, and learn more about cognitive behavioral therapy and what it really is like to work in, transformation, or identity alchemism, as I really like to call it. Guys, it's all about recreating the stories.
Hmm.
And then when I was going deeper in business, how much more is everything about building a story brand, winning the story rose, always sell a story. And I'm just like, oh, I've been getting trained in enterprise and healing myself ever since I was 3 years old, hanging out on the stoop.
You're a
Well,
front stooper, right? That's
yeah.
what I
Yeah,
heard.
And
front
and
stoop,
not
baby.
just that too, but like the ability to tell a good story, you can now analogize things, right? Like you could create analogies when you're trying to explain concepts and you're trying to help us understand some of the mental models that you're out there teaching. You teach them in a way where you tell a story that's kind of feels unrelated, but by the time you get to the end of the story, you're like, oh, okay, now I understand what you're trying to say over here, right? So the ability to tell stories makes you really good at analogies, which makes you an excellent teacher. And I feel like when we were hanging out with you just a couple weeks ago, I remember every single question I would ask, you'd be like, Matt, let me tell you something. And then you'd branch off into a story and you'd answer my question within the story instead of just going straight to the answer. And I feel like that ability just locks it in for people.
Yeah, so I'd love to unpack that for you.
That'd be
Please.
great.
The biggest things where I really started learning to uncover identity alchemism and even break down the parts. And those of you that are listening, identity alchemism is really what I really imagine is our special sauce in our program. And it's about having an outcome, but then what do you need to do to have and to actually do that outcome? And you need to be the person. And so you have your thoughts. I need to think like a rich person to make a lot of money. Then I need to speak like a rich or wealthy person to be a wealthy person. And then I will do the actions that a wealthy person does. And then I will do them often enough that they become my habits. And then my outcome is that I will be wealthy. Oftentimes people get stuck in just trying to do the wealthy things, but you only do what you believe.
Yeah.
So it's not logical. It's about identity shifting. That's why it's identity alchemism. Thoughts to words to actions, actions repeated or habits equals outcomes. So I started studying what a thought was. And this will get back to your point,
Yeah.
Matt. I'm bringing it around, just like we said. A thought is an image and a feeling. And then our words translate it. So if you tell a good story, you get someone to imagine and feel, and then they could wrap their head around the thought.
Would you say that the feeling gets them tapped into themselves and maybe a story that they have playing already in their mind, so it relates to that immediately, subconsciously even?
Sometimes I'm trying to recreate the image, Joe. Great question. So that's why I give such a thorough story so I could take you with me and not have us be in miscommunication. So that's why, Matt, when you ask a question, sometimes I don't answer it right away because how many times in a disagreement, miscommunication or misunderstanding have been that I see patients like this and you see patients like this, like one word being misunderstood. But if I could delete your version and get you seeing it my version, my point of view, we could develop an empathy and an understanding. And then from the root, we have context. And then no matter what else happens after that, we know that the chances of us having some sort of disagreement, conflict, are less and less.
Yeah.
So it leads actually to better communication because oftentimes what people believe is something in their past when you bring something up. And it's no different to me than when someone's like, yeah, you want to try this new this pizza? What's on it? Mushrooms. Oh, I hate mushrooms. Why? Because when you were 6, it's a past story. Like, how do you know you hate these mushrooms, bro? You didn't even try one. Or like, for instance, with the bags. Like, that's why I sell the bags so hard because how many people go, tobacco? Dun, dun, dun. Right? And they go into this reading every surgeon's label.
Yeah. Well, when you say tobacco, that's actually a really good example because I think my whole relationship and perspective on tobacco went a complete 180-degree shift just from spending a day with you. Going into the conversation, I probably had this negative spin on tobacco is like tobacco, it's bad, it kills people. Everybody I know who smokes cigarettes, it's like disgusting, blah, 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 right? But then like we have a discussion and before I can even sort of air out what I don't like about tobacco, you're telling me a story that brings it all the way around so that my arguments they're not invalid, but they're irrelevant to the conversation we're having.
Right. Because most of it's based off being a victim some way, right? But the people that sue McDonald's, it's not McDonald's fault. Don't go there.
It's not your place.
Don't eat nuggets every day, Jack. You won't be fat. It's guaranteed. I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? But that's so much of what holds our lives back.
Yeah.
Is having those past thoughts and experiences. And that's why being able to give good stories and recreate stories and all of that in our minds then creates new thought patterns, new neural pathways for our brain of understanding, expands us, and then can allow for shifts.
Yeah, so basically everybody's they're walking around with the stories from their past that the stories are what lead to a lot of the decisions they make in life right now. So the philosophy you have is you've already got these stories. Me trying to make tweaks to your stories isn't going to work. So I'm just going to replace these stories. So the story you've got here, I'm going to replace it real quick. Now we're operating from this point of view.
Right. And now we're operating from the same anchor. When we have the same anchor, we're starting together. And so the disagreement or misunderstanding and even the rigidness falls away. Because before you knew it, you were open to trying. And now all of a sudden you're like, yeah, tobacco's not bad. The user is.
Yeah.
Or the way it's used.
Right. It's misunderstood, misused. Just like the internet, just like McDonald's, just like junk food.
Is there a good use for McDonald's though? Let's clear that up really fast.
Full confession.
Okay, no judgment.
When I go to a foreign country, I always try the McDonald's.
Bro, when I went to Morocco, it was like that was the best place. I went there I think twice. And yes, you're right. It was like it's different here. This is a whole new experience. And it's better there too.
Best McDonald's ever is 3 blocks from the Vatican. Okay?
Really?
Between us.
Yeah.
Where else can you get chicken nuggets and a really good espresso? Okay?
Oh.
Challenge anyone.
Damn, that's good. That's good.
And then go visit the Pope.
Yeah, and then you get to see
Give him a
the
burger.
Sistine Chapel same day after you get the 20-piece out. That is a little espresso. Before you know it, you're doing the crosses, you're kissing up, and you're looking around.
You're feeling great.
You're with God.
Dude, yeah, literally, you were there. So the thought, so finding those stories, that's where I was going to go. So Matt and I recently completed part of your Alpha Hippie training, which we have talked about. This is the man in charge. And I feel like that was that an exercise, and you can totally correct me, but like it was this breakthrough portion of your program, and it seemed like that was us searching for the stories, these repeating things that get us stuck in whatever circumstance in life. And that was our process that you guys walked us through to not only identify them, but get really comfortable with them, acknowledge them, be grateful for them, and then finally own them and move on, but at least now we know what these stories are. So that's what I want to dig in a little bit. So these thoughts that we're all walking around with, tell me about that. Where to go?
First of all, congratulations on moving through that first phase, gentlemen.
Thank you.
The first phase is the hardest phase, really, because what we're doing is we're removing the weeds of your garden, which are the stories that are misunderstood because a 6-year-old is still telling the story. And we're hearing it from a 6-year-old's point of view, with lacking any understanding, any empathy, any true context to what's going on in life. Yet, as 36-year-olds, 46-year-olds, it's how we're actually living our lives for most people. And so the first 4 weeks is about taking out the weeds. And then the second 8 weeks is about first identifying in weeks 4 through or 5 through 9, whatever it would be, right? Just the middle 4 is about now deciding as adults what stories, what do we want to plant in the garden. And then the second 4 weeks is me guiding you to become the person that is the gardener of your life. And that's the identity alchemism shift. Because the thoughts and the words, then the actions, and then the habits. Then that's what that whole program walks you through is first, I need to take out the weeds. Now that the weeds are gone, who do you really want to be? What's the outcome? All right, so that's what we're going for. How would that person think? How would that person speak? What would that person do? And what would they do repetitively? And then we design that together. Then I send you on your way and hope that you love me and one day you become real rich and leave a bushel of 50s outside my door with a little note.
Well, I'd like to break down a few of the elements, too, that you would go over with people in some of the weeks. But, like, right in the very beginning, and this is some of the exercises we've already done, but I want to hear it from your words and your perspective. What's some ways people can identify the words, the thoughts, the stories that they're currently telling themselves that are no longer serving them? How do they uncover those in the first place?
Awareness is the starting line to the divine. Awareness is the starting line to the divine inside of all of us. And so, first, it's about becoming a witness to your life and not just living your life. And that may sound relatively simple in theory, and it really is when you break it down, but oftentimes that's usually where people are, the struggle is, are you paying attention on what you're doing or what I'm doing or anyone, for yourselves to the point where you are not reacting to life, you are responding to it. And because responding requires you to actually think about what you're doing and actually seeing yourself doing it. When we react to life, it's based on programming or an iOS system that we may not have majority of people did not put there, did not choose for it to be there, and no wonder their outcomes in life are not what they really designed it to be. And they've read every single book on planet Earth on how to be better, but that's only for their conscious brain. They haven't gotten to the real gatekeeper, which is your subconscious stories, which are the ones that are shaped from 0 to 7.
Yeah. Now this is you have me thinking more of like the language side of things now, because this is kind of bouncing around, but this is like where it came up, like the whole masculine and feminine energy, but the way that maybe there's stories there's a specific language where that pops up, and it seems to be tied to some, maybe how we're presenting ourselves and the way that we act in our lives, through business, the way that our motivations are. It could be rooted in kind of like this previous trauma or this story that we have from childhood that we have no clue about. I'd be kind of curious to explore thoughts around that and how it kind of relates to this process we went through as well.
Energy Dynamics 101, just for anyone that's listening, there's two major frequencies in the world. This has nothing to do what you have in your pants. This is not a gender specific thing. And this is why I'm really writing a book as well, because saying feminine and masculine puts people into a story too far back, and then I'm just like, I gotta explain this to you again.
It's kind of scared to use the terms like that.
Right. And so literally the book I'm writing right now, the Alpha Hippie Code, is all about recreating names for this as well. Like I teach it, and then I go, this is what we're calling it, and this is what we're calling it, and this is what I encourage you to call it from now on.
Nice.
Because too much windows and closed go up when I go, Matt, you need to have more feminine in you. And you're like, what do I mean? Lipstick? And you want me to just drag? It goes into a place where,
Right.
if I told my dad, listen, man, you need to really have more access to your feminine energy. He'd go, I'll give you this feminine, grab his ball with his finger and tell me to go screw myself, right? I mean, it doesn't, people don't get
Sure.
it. But these dynamics are inside of all of us. The more denial of one leaves you dominant in the other. And I'm willing to bet that is why anyone actually has some sort of suffering. They diagnose it with different things, yet an imbalance or misharmony in anyone is really the result or real source of what trauma is. So feminine energy is the self, and also a nurturing, warm energy that we all must be able to give ourselves an access. It's your heart, per se. Masculine energy is a advancing, more action taking, and also to the seat of integrity and or trusting yourself. So you guys could see, when you really break it down, if you can't give yourself grace, which is loving acceptance, which is for me the ultimate feminine, and you can't trust yourself, which I call integrity, which is trust plus, just knowing who you are, right? Like that is it. Integrity. I do what I say I'm going to do. I know that if I'm backed up against that corner, I'm the person that I want in that corner. I'm the one that wants the ball with 10 seconds to go in my life. I don't want to dish it to someone else. I got the shot. Because when you feel that way, when you could accept yourself, that leads to loving yourself, the removing of judging yourself, compassion, forgiveness, and then moves you into gratitude. Then you shift into that masculine side, where then what couldn't you do if you loved yourself, you gave yourself compassion, and then you trusted yourself that you could advance. And then there's the divine, which is gratitude, faith that life is happening for you and not to you. That's why I call it the gig triangle. Once you know the gig triangle, what couldn't you do? I fully love and accept myself from my past. who I am, and when I'm imperfect, I could give myself grace. I know that who I am, I believe in myself, I trust myself, I live with integrity because I know that I'm going to show up for me and the people that count on me. And then I believe in the divine, which is gratitude that life is happening for me so that I know that things in the short term, even if they don't feel great, they were really meant for me. What kind of life wouldn't you lead of that's bliss? Because that's the thing too, is it's not about happiness, it's about bliss. They're two different things. Happy to me is a like kind of, oh, I'm happy, and then I could be sad, and I get that. But what we really want is a life of bliss, just serenity, right?
So
Or
is that more of a flow state through
yeah,
life?
you're just
Contentment.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm blissful.
Sure.
You're not too happy. You're not too sad. You're not wearing either imposter.
I was actually reading a book that just this weekend that was referring to that as just feeling content. People say they want to be happy, but really what they're looking for is they just want to be content. They not too happy, not too, just kind of baseline, contentment.
Yeah. Well, because with any spike and craziness or whatever, there's always a trailing off period. I mean, there's always a finding center, a balance-ish. It's never going to be there, but that's why we can be content throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that's what we can control, so might as well take hold of it. Navigate the wildness or whatever the world gives us.
Yeah. I feel like, so when we were up at your place a couple weeks ago, and we were driving back, and Joe and I were kind of debriefing on the drive home because it's about an hour and a half drive or whatever. One of the comments that I made to Joe is it's interesting because when I'm in your presence, I feel like there's something about you that's both intimidating but also inviting and welcoming. Like I didn't have any discomfort about like I could ask you anything and you would love to tell me a story about that thing. But there was also this sort of like you're someone to be respected and slightly intimidated by, but also very welcoming. And to me, that felt like that feminine, masculine energy just like manifested right there in front of me. Like that is who you are. And I feel like that's something that you kind of methodically created. It sounds like what you're telling me is like this was an identity that you've built over time, was to create this identity of somebody that is respected by others, but also very welcomed by others, that people feel comfortable, but also slightly intimidated by. Is that kind of like the design that you created for yourself?
Guys, what's really interesting, you've done the story work. My story, if you will, is a divine masculine once I learned to love it. And so it really worked out well. And so for you, Matt, the first thing I encourage you to do is live a life that nothing intimidates you, you're intrigued. So no man intimidates me. I'm intrigued by a lot of fucking people. So intriguing, like, how excitement and nervous are really the same feelings? What's the difference? Your lens. Why would anyone intimidate you? You are a beautiful, successful man that has a lot to offer, many cool party tricks. You're open enough to blow some bags. You're a stud. You're courageous. So no man should intimidate you. They might intrigue you, but not intimidate. What really separates a man from a boy is I don't care if people like me. I give a fuck if people respect me. Treat me with respect. You could go home and light voodoo dolls and throw darts at pictures of me. I'll sleep just fine. When you're in my presence, you better respect me. Because I'm a man and I know I paid the price to be one. And that to me is really important. And then being able to be comfortable inside of my heart allows me to be welcoming and warm with others. And so I'm happy to be a host and connect because I host and connect my heart. And so that's what you're really accurate with, Matt, is I've learned to harmonize my frequencies enough and also be okay with being in one versus the other and knowing more intentionally now than ever when I need to be in one energy versus the other. See, a lot of people first is understanding the energy. Two, doing the work to heal, therefore access the energy. And then number three is the skill of knowing which where you're at in your life and which one should you be in a little bit more of, because it's not about being in balance, it's in being in harmony. I'll share this. So in business there's three stages in an enterprise. There's sharing, there's connecting, and then there's selling, there's making the deal. The first two are feminine, the last one is masculine. So when I share my message, I share it with beauty and art and love, which is marketing. Then I advertise and connect to those that like the sound of my message. So if you like what I'm sharing, I'm going to advertise with you and or connect deeper with you because you already raised your hand that this interests you. You perked up. But then when it gets down to the X's and O's of business, my feelings will be muted because it has nothing to do with feelings at that point, because now I'm a hunter making sure that my business and my family eats. And if there's an antelope, a crowd of antelopes, and one of them has a broken leg, I guess it's an easy hunt today, boys. And I don't feel bad about taking that broken leg one and giving myself an easy day. And that's business.
Well, so many people struggle with sales, for instance, like that, and it's because they might be in the same mindset of that first day they, found someone, connected with someone, conversations, and then the point comes where they might get a no from, or not right now, or let me, and oh God, they didn't like it. Nah, I'm not good at this. Man, maybe I'm pricing this way too high. I'm not. Yeah, and then no, that's the wrong approach. And we've had people, sales folks on this show, talk about the hunt. The hunter, and I'm a meat eater, and it's like it's almost like you've trained your mind to then flip into this mindset, because that's not always how these folks. It's like a UFC fighter. It's like, some of the nicest people in the world. We both know some, and they get in the ring, fucking animal. They're a beast. They'll tear your face off.
Well, we were literally watching UFC fighters de-escalate situations. We were up at your place a couple weeks ago.
Right. So
it's no big deal. But you see, and what most people do try to do in business is they try to do all three at once. And that's really why they struggle, or they're unaware of what frequency they should be bringing at that moment.
So how do you, are there some obvious ones in, let's say, business, or, common things that you come across where maybe we should be able to identify these a little clearer than they are?
Yeah, real simple. When you are in your feminine, there is no desired outcome. The feminine is a feeling. When you get to the masculine, you either made the sale or you didn't. You either brought the food home or you didn't.
It's more binary then, right?
Right.
Masculine. Okay.
So when you get to the deal, it's very binary. So when you go share your message, when you're looking at your marketing, it's how does my marketing feel? And then if you want to look at the results to make sure your feelings are aligned, I'm with you. Yet it should be, how does my marketing make my client feel? Once if that's working well, how am I connecting with them? Are they listening more? Are they moving into sales calls? Great. It's all feeling at first. But then when you get down to the business, hey, do you got the dinner or not? The kids are hungry. You can't cut checks for your mortgage with feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why that part needs to go away for a little bit and that needs to go there. And this is really, believe it or not, more beneficial for the female entrepreneurs, I realized, is because they're such great nurturers most of the time when they're feminine dominant, which is predominantly women, but some men may wear it too. But then when it comes out time to pull their pistols and go to work,
Mm-hmm.
they're shooting water guns, and someone else is just like, "What, are you kidding me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Good luck killing this thing," right? And that's because they're not able to detach from the feeling. Because more the hunter needs to have the right tools. They need to be prepared. They need to understand the aim, the goal, the bottom line. Like they need to be ready to walk away from the deal, right? That moment of negotiation. Can you not have feelings and wait and simmer in that depth with that person? We all know when we're on that sales call, whoever speaks first loses. And then whoever speaks usually has a feeling
Yeah,
because they're chaotic. They're just reacting to it. But
yeah.
then the masculine should be able to simmer. And so that's really what I've learned is the stages are misunderstood, and that's why people aren't successful. And or that's why people that are really passionate about their job need to also, or like coaches or any guides like that, they also need to access and have a good healthy relationship with their masculine, because basically what you're saying is, I know that I could go be an animal, but the animal's not gonna, I'm gonna hold the leash on the animal's not gonna hold the leash on me. But you
Mm-hmm.
have to go be an animal, just like the fighter example.
And that's why you're the alpha, right? You're the alpha in any situation. It just might be that more feminine dominant or masculine, depending on where you're at.
Yeah, you're to me the alpha is someone that leads the dance.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. You're keeping your ear on the beat the whole time for the room, because what I look to do is stabilize the frequencies that are around me. And to me, the ultimate form of the alpha or masculine is to be a stabilizer or a safety net for everyone that they're around or they could touch. I was telling some guys in my men's group, it should feel like when you get on this call, you're walking around with the biggest boobs in the street and you've had a bra on all day and you could just take your bra off in here. I don't care how big your boobs are, right? And it should feel that way. Like you
Yeah,
should feel like, oh,
yeah. Let loose.
yeah, just that sigh,
Yeah.
And that's what I first embody, and then I coach other men to embody.
Yeah. No, I like. I mean, so you obviously train men, and you basically you take men pro, you turn them pro, or help them turn themselves pro, I guess. But
Yeah,
yeah. There's so much for women to take from this, and I think, like you said, this is probably one of the biggest is understanding where the energy shows up and what to do to flip it. So, like, what is generally, like, how would, if someone were to identify, like, yeah, I'm struggling with sales, or I'm a woman, I'm struggling to do some of these more masculine energy tasks, like, what are some approaches that people can take to, if they're aware of these things, of course, but are there some couple things we can test out here?
yeah. I'm gonna give you guys my real secret, my favorite thing. And I said it a little bit earlier. I alluded to it. Perfect way to get to the callback, Joe. I listen to music. So these are energy frequencies. What's another frequency that we all consume is music. It's the ultimate frequency changer. So I have music that I listen to begin embodying the frequency before I do anything.
Hmm.
So I get into the part. So when I come home every day and I'm about to go see my family, and no longer should I be that killer, I listen to womanly songs. I have multiple songs that remind me of Rocio, and then I have one song that is my mother. So the song with my mother is The First Time I Saw Your Face by Roberta Flack. And I imagine that it's when I came out of the womb, it says, the first time I saw your face, I thought the sun rose in your eyes, and the moon and the stars were the kisses that you gave. And it connects me to my heart because that's who I believe the perfect mother is. When you come out of the womb, and I watched this with my own son. When that boy put his head on his mother, he knew that he was safe at home. And there was no reason to be worried anymore. And so I use that. When I'm coming down the street, walking down to do a podcast, I got my Biggie Smalls Versace glasses, and I got some Kanye West and Jay-Z Watch the Throne.
Yeah.
And I'm strutting down the street, imagining that I got the biggest schwanz in the world before I get on these shows or podcast myself or Bigs of Steels. Because I want to walk in the room like I'm the predator. You're in the room with me. I'm not in the room with you, Jack. And so that's how I do is I use music so intentionally to trigger me into what energetic state I'm supposed to be in.
Got it. Yeah, so it can be like a transitionary period, like going back home before you show up with the family and the kids.
Yeah.
To work, yeah, you want to get ramped up. You maybe have a speech coming up or sales call. You're like, let's get some freaking whatever that masculine energy, that ramp up that's going to do it for you.
The implications that are interesting to me as well are that like the reverse is also true. So many people are out there pumping stuff into their head that's changing their energy, and they're subconsciously doing that, right? So like you could get in your car and put on the radio, and now you're giving the control to somebody else essentially.
Right. This whole like social dilemma thing, why not use it to your advantage? I was doing this when I first started studying NLP and triggers, right? Like the neuro-linguistic programming. But now, guys, everyone knows the party trick, right? I mean, just so if they're hijacking your wires, why shouldn't you do it for you, for the benefit of you?
For sure.
And now that we know from just listening to this show that there's two energetic frequencies, another way for energetic frequency that we all know is music, which is an input, right? It could even be just sometimes I listen to if I just want to feel happy and let loose, I put on a fun house music set, and then all of a sudden I'm not in a funk anymore.
Yeah.
If I want to bring myself down for a work session, I usually put on some melodic techno, kind of Sasha, Ben Bomer track to settle me into what I'm about to read. I take a little Tootski, drink an espresso. Before you know it, I'm reading things in flow.
Dude.
Yeah.
And so for me, be an energetic DJ of your life, because then you won't need to worry so much about what you're going to say.
I love the energetic DJ.
Yeah.
I think that's like everyone can take that and run with it however it relates to their lives.
Right. And we've never had it so easy to actually do this. We have this available. Go on wherever you consume music and pick what frequency. One is called California Soul. That's mine. That for the heart. And then I have Alpha Hippie Life when I'm just ready to go get them.
Do you share these, man? Do you ever share any of your playlists?
It's funny. Here's the deal. I was once sharing them, but then people I wouldn't know would add on them, and I'm just like, dude,
Yeah. They can't lock them down, yeah.
this is my intimacy. Don't just start adding your own because you think you can listen to it. But on SoundCloud, I actually have, if you go on my SoundCloud, I have the good shit, that's a bunch of good house music that I like that is both happy and also sort of that work frequency. And then I also, under my name, Angelo Sisco, I have something called Restore. And it's the music I listen to when I go take a sauna or when I'm trying to go for a walk of deep contemplation. It's a low treble frequency to get me into that theta state where I am more able to be in a sort of that subconscious dream world and really think deeper and more expansive about my life and things. And so, yeah, dude, I really love it. Like, I just encourage everyone, find a song that reminds you of your father, find a song that reminds you of taking care of business. Funny thing about this, and I bring this up to my wife, not many people know this. I've always wanted to be the person in movies that pick the songs.
Oh yeah.
Like for scenes, like there's just certain scenes in movies that I remember just have you guys ever heard of A Bronx Tale? It's a
I've heard of
90s
it.
movie
Yeah.
with Chaz Palminteri, Robert De Niro, Dark. It's amazing. But there's a big fight scene, and what's playing in the background is Come Together. But you feel
Oh
the
yeah.
build. 1 and 1 is 3, and then all of a sudden the fight breaks out, and you could feel that energy build into that, right? Or
Yeah,
God
yeah.
dang, guys, if gonna fly now, does it make you want to run up the street, throw some shadow boxing punches? Nothing will. Like,
Yeah.
we're affected by this. It's inside of us because, like I said, it gets past the gatekeeper because they're frequencies. It's deeper than just that human in us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I love the music stuff, because when you could use it intentionally, you don't have to think so much because thinking is exhausting.
Your thinking gets you in trouble. It just ruins it. You know, in the experience, it feels like too. You're out of flow then.
Right. So here's why we go back to identity alchemism. So you don't become a human doing, because doing is exhausting. You become a human being. You be the thing, and then you don't have to think so much. You could trust yourself, because overthinking is a strategy that we've created because we don't trust ourselves and our instincts. And that's because we don't know what frequency we're really supposed to be in. One, we don't understand the frequencies, we're not aware of them. We don't know which one we're supposed to be in. We don't know how to get ourselves into it.
Yeah.
Rinse and repeat. And so every day, though, the goal is to be in harmony with them. So when I wake up in the morning, I go to access my masculine. I take care of business. And then when my work day is done, I go be Angelo, the guy that comes home, cries on his front porch, and makes his family dinner. Right? I become
I've
I
seen
tell
it.
people I become the fat Buddha. The one that's
The
somewhere
good one.
behind,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah,
that's
the
what you
coolest
guys
one.
see when I'm connecting and sharing and loving. I'm the fat Buddha, happiness and abundance. But then when it comes time for business, the fat Buddha turns into me, this other version of me that's, like you said, Matt, some may find intimidating. But that has nothing to do with me. That has to do with someone else's lens of me. All I'm looking for is respect and the big piece of chicken. If you are not the predator, once you get to that masculine part, you're the prey. And then nature just plays itself out, boys.
That's it. We're just playing in nature. That's all this is some glorified, crazy nature that we've constructed of ourselves.
Yeah, we don't
so.
want to admit that we're animals. It's
Dude,
just
we're
like, we're animals.
Yeah.
We sure are. The sooner we integrate with that, and the sooner that we could accept that and begin using our humanness, our prefrontal cortex, to develop a relationship with the animal instead of trying to deny that, is the moment that you actually reach enlightenment and a betterment of a person. But it's in denying of the animal or muting of the animal that usually leads us down a path of poor identification, which you guys can now imagine why everyone wants their own noun or whatever you call it.
Hmm.
It's because you're misaligning your frequencies. That's a whole
Yeah.
nother day. Me and Jordan
It's a
Peterson will
different day.
talk about that one day. But do you guys see what I'm saying? That's
Yeah.
what's there is this gap.
What I read some, I think it's in the Psychology of Money. It was mentioned, this book that we're going through right now. Highly recommended, by the way. All credit to me. No, I'm just kidding, Matt. It's a great book, but there was a line in there, and it's a pretty, or, it's been said by other folks, but basically, like, being the average man or person is more noble than the one that's trying to do everything or is just going with the motions of society or life. The social media, gotta be there, gotta be here, but more of the average person. The way I'm thinking about it in context of what you're saying and who you are, I think that was the thing that's intrigued me and still does of you, Angelo, is, and I don't know if you remember, I'm like, you're so methodical with your movements and speech, and it just seems like like you mentioned earlier, you don't have a TV in your house, but for certain occasions you'll blow up the projector and go big with it when Conor McGregor, your boy, is on, but it's almost like you've achieved this averageness, and I say that in the best possible way ever, where you're not affected by the global, news. I know you just listen to or read local news.
Every week I read the SC Times. It's the only
That's it.
newspaper I read. It's my local St. Clemente Times.
There you go.
But like, I think that's the thing that's always intrigued me to you is every story you tell, every movement, breathing exercise you do. Like, I told you about this aching neck that I've had for literally over 10 years, ever since I've known Matt, basically. I'm like,
I created it, I'm sure.
probably. Some energy, finally you're clearing that out. Thank you, Ange. But you're just like, oh yeah, just do some of this, put your neck over your ass basically. And, stop leaning forward because you're probably doing that in your desk, which I was. And then it was like 2 days later, I texted you. I was like, holy crap, dude. Like, there's just certain things like I never knew about my body and just positioning and breathing and slowing down and understanding language and energies. And it's kind of this pull to average or harmony,
Yeah.
that it's so a lot of folks just are probably ignorant, or not ignorant too, but not aware of because of the noise of everything right now.
Ignorance is misunderstood. Ignorance isn't a bad thing. Ignorance just means you don't know what it is. I'm ignorant to things right now. Everyone is ignorance. Ignorance is just the absence of awareness. So here's the deal. Is awareness leads to choice and intention. So I do things and make choices based off certain attentions that I have for myself. I'm just because I could slow down enough to be aware, then I could have intention by what I'm doing. That's the difference between reaction and responding. So it may seem like I have so many things figured out. No, I've just been living a life of more awareness and intention before some other people. I'm just grateful that I've had this time a gift to reflect. That's all I've done. And now my choices are based off my own awareness. And also, too, I keep resorting back to this. I trust myself, which means I have a great relationship with my instincts. I don't let my brain second guess me. I let my brain make the plans. My instincts are the first thing. And I have, even if I make a bad choice, I do my best to not go against my instincts for too long. Because it's important to develop a good relationship with our instincts. Just like our instincts is another word for our animals. Because they were here before our prefrontal cortex. We survived a long time without being so reasoning and so intellectual and all of this stuff. Let's all stop pretending like that and or letting our party trick, which is our reasoning as humans, That's what separates from our animals, right? We have this prefrontal cortex that can imagine things, create the ego, create the boogeyman, and create the hero. Yet oftentimes, to me, we use it in the wrong order. See, people they might feel something, but then they let their brain talk out. No, no. I feel something. My heart, my heart inspires, my brain conspires, and my what makes the fire, puts me in action. Yet, oftentimes, we might be inspired, but then our brain doesn't work in our favor. It works against us, or our minds work against us. And that's no different than you having an imaginary best friend or you believing in the boogeyman. They're a choice. They're the same people. They come the same way. So either you could be scared or you could have your best buddy with you at all times.
Damn, that's good. The pinch point, the point of resistance is the mind, man. And it's like you clear that up, and then what's gonna happen? Pretty cool shit, I think. Huh?
Yeah, it's called an iPhone. It's called a car. Right?
That's
Think
right.
of all these amazing, cool things.
Yeah, every breakthrough
Literally-
out there.
Right.
Yeah.
Could you just imagine if Steve Jobs imagined the iPhone and then gave himself all the reasons why it would be stupid?
Right.
No, he's like, yeah, this could be super cool. I
And
don't
you just
even know
went
where
with
this could go. Let's just give it a try.
Yeah.
And that's because he had a really good relationship with his instincts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, Elon Musk didn't know about how to build rocket ships. He hired engineers to build rocket ships. But he had a feeling about rocket ships and living on Mars. Same thing about electric cars, and now about Neuralink. So if anyone out there wants to be a visionary, do not allow the mind to put you in decline. That's it. Give yourself a chance. Feel something and go, well, how can I do it, right? Or I tease people when they come to San Clemente. I tell them to move here. And I go, you say, why San Clemente? I say, why not?
That's right.
That's the thing. Why can't it be?
Intrigue.
Right. Why,
Yeah.
And that's what's really important is getting past these like little pebbles in our shoes. From the music we choose, from how we're viewing the world, how we say it, right? Our thoughts, our words, our actions, continued actions,
Yep.
and our outcomes would just be different.
All right. I think we're gonna.
We
put
went
it,
a lot of places
I know. That's what I
on
was
this
like.
show.
Woo,
We really did. We took a lot of laps.
this
The
was
main
great,
thing,
man.
guys, is just application wise, get in tune with the frequencies and then choosing the music. It alone in itself will change your lives.
Huge.
Yeah, bro. That's a cool, very easy thing. We could just flip on, look for Angie's playlists. I'm sure we have them linked up in the show notes. I'm sure Sue
Dude.
found them on there already.
For real, if any, just pick the song that reminds you of your mother. Pick your song that reminds you of your best lover. That'll take you to your feelings. Pick the song that reminds you of no feelings, like you're the only. Like for a lot of men, if Frank Sinatra "My Way," does it make you feel like you could take on the world and that you're ready to do it on your own terms? Do me a favor, don't ever message me because I love Frank Sinatra. But like something like along those lines,
Yeah.
That's what you want to feel like when you go into a business situation.
Yeah, man. Well, hey, here's another good actionable resource for folks because I've obsessed over it before going into the program at Alpha Hippie with you. Is your podcast? Tell me about it because you have interviews, but you also and I've been on there. That was like it felt like the closest thing to Joe Rogan. It was nearly 3 hours. It was epic. That was like almost a year ago now. Crazy, but. Your podcast has these like actions, just 5-8 minute long things that you can like nerd over. But tell me about the podcast, how people can get it, your book, and then we'll wrap her up.
We'll tie a bow on this?
I
Beautiful.
think so.
All right, gentlemen. So right now I do three different types of shows. Joe, you and I did a story, kind of just we're flowing, getting to know each other, front stooping show,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The second show that I do is I take subject matter experts that are really specific and geared towards something that is more men specific or relationship, where it's more about getting information. The first is story, the second is information, and then the third one is me guiding or teaching on a certain topic, something that I feel really passionate about, or through my work with men, just something that I'm talking about, and experiencing. For instance, uh, the show came out, about why you keep fighting with your wife and getting them to understand that your wife cares about what you say, think, and say, and you care about what your wife does. So get on the same page with them because more than likely it's your wife says, "What'd you say?" And then you're like, "Well, what'd you do?" And then that's the that's the issue, right? Like when I go out with my family, we get in the car, my wife gets pissed about what someone said, I get pissed about what someone did.
I can see that. Yep, yep. It's true.
God damn it, your mother was just that kind of talk. And you know what your dad said? I'm like, yeah, and I'm trying to forgive my dad because I don't think it's a big deal. And
Right.
meanwhile, I'm ready to kill half her family for something they did. It's just different lenses, and I try to get people to see and experience these things because I'm like I said, I have a nice level of no, I have a gifted level of awareness,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm trying to share. I'm take out the try. I share my awareness in real time with other men, hoping that my experiences, my suffering, my victories are able to aid in them in their journeys.
Yeah, man. No, you definitely have that whole collective approach, man. You bring everyone along with you. You're gracious along the way too. You share bags. You have a great time. Just leave that reference there.
Yeah.
And
Nobody has any idea what we're talking about when we say
that's
blowing
all right.
bags.
Sorry, inside joke, hustle
There
and
you-
flow. The hustle. What's our
Hustle
what's our
hippies, man. Hustling hippies.
Yeah,
Hustling
hustling
We're
hippies.
more like the flowing hippies these days, though,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
We lean more that way.
I
So,
get you.
brother, this has been great. Where can people? Well, you have the book coming out later in the year, right? So the Alpha Hippie Code, I
Yes.
do believe. Yeah. So what date are we shooting for?
I'm gonna sell this thing on Black Friday. It's gonna be open up for sale on Black Friday. I'm writing it right now. It's gonna go in editing, and I'm gonna put myself out there in a beautiful, vulnerable way. The Alpha Hippie Code is going to be all about these frequencies and really how to embody them, step into them, and also too, it's a selfish memoir to my son, so he could learn about how I learned them,
Hmm.
because I have a deep fascination in wanting to know who my father was before he was my father. And I trust that every boy deep down really wants to know a little bit about that. So Alpha Hippie Code will be available around that time, and I'm writing it right now as we speak, and it's absolutely amazing. I laugh and cry every time we put a chapter together. It's an epic journey, and I'm going to continue to do the work and surrender to the divine, and know that as long as I'm wearing the right mask, that everything's going to be beautiful.
Right on, brother. You're
Love
doing great things. It's just starting out with the hippie brand or the Alpha Hippie brand too, man. So you're growing like crazy. It's fun to
Oh,
watch, man. Be involved. So it's been
you guys
good.
are
Well,
the
I'm sure we'll
best.
do it again, my man. Thank you.
No, thank you guys for having me. You two are just studs. And anyone that listens to this show, thank you so much for listening, and all the shows. And I trust that they see you guys as I see you as well. You guys are absolutely amazing, and the quality of content, and also to um, the tools and resources that Evergreen Profits and Hustle and Flow, that you guys bring out are really amazing. And I don't say that because I only look at them. I say them because we use them. And we trust in you guys and love you guys and are devoted to you guys. So
Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate
Love
it,
you
man.
too. Thank you, King. And Elmo, love you too, man. I've been looking at Elmo behind your back over there. I'm like, that's some masculine energy right there, but maybe not. I don't know.
some girl was selling lemonade and her paintings. I said, I don't drink the lemonade, but I'll buy your painting. And I paid her 5 times what she wanted for it. It was just on the street. And I go, dude,
Nice.
I'm putting this in the office.
I love it.
That's
I love
awesome.
it. It's a statement piece, man. All right, Ange. Peace.
Love Kings.